Hi there, it's Sarah from Inspire Tarot. Welcome to the channel. Let's see what message Spirit has for us today. The first card out is the Queen of Cups. So the Queen of Cups is a symbol of emotional maturity. Stay put. Next card out is the Three of Pentacles and the Nine of Pentacles. So the Queen of Cups is about somebody who is very empathic. So yeah, when the Queen of Cups comes out, you're very much in your empathic and intuitive energy. And the Queen of Cups is a mature example of empathy, as true empathy. So when we are struggling earlier on in our journey, our empathy makes us feel sorry for other people and kind of have so much compassion for them that we make allowances for them. But essentially we're putting them above ourselves. We're making allowances for them that it's not healthy for us to make. And because the world is a mirror and we kind of treat the other person as if they're more important than us without speaking up, then, and kind of putting that accountability on them, then we end up on the receiving end of reflections which aren't very nice. So the Spirit will have us working together in groups so that all this gets flushed up, and then we get to work on ourselves. And the more we work on ourselves over time, we become more and more anchored in ourselves. We get to see that we're important too, and we get to value ourselves. Now, quite often on this journey, that can feel quite uncomfortable to put ourselves first, because it can bring up a lot of feelings of guilt and shame. You know, if earlier in our life we were told that being ourselves was selfish, because quite often what happens is parents will have, when they have a child, they will believe that that child is like a blank slate and something that they can mold into something themselves, responsible for creating the perfect child. And we are not really aware that this child has their own spirit and has their own path and plan. Yeah, quite often we can end up, because we all play these different roles and we all have different ideas. So as a mother, you want a well-behaved child, or as a child you want a loving parent, but somebody who lets you be yourself. And we all have our own ideas of what we want in relationships and how we want the other person to be. And quite often they're not that way, and it's designed for them to not be that way, because in A Course in Miracles it considers that specialness. And when people are not the way we want them to be, then it forces us to grow. It forces us to develop these skills for ourselves. And the more we have challenges in relationships, the more we need to look for that equality, the more we need to step into our own power and really start to glow up. So the Nine of Pentacles is about being very anchored in ourselves, very stable, very aligned with God, aligned with love, and aligned with abundance, but also very in tune with ourselves. The Nine of Pentacles is a card about independence. Yeah, just that we're very fulfilled internally and feeling very prosperous. And we're just in touch with our worth, and we're feeling quite self-realized. And we don't really realize, for many people, especially people who are on the spiritual path, who are starseeds, who've chosen to incarnate into families that didn't really have the capacity to understand them, that were essentially chosen. They chose to be born to families where they would be challenged, where they could bring in these new paradigms of unconditional love. But then the parents that we chose weren't able to love us unconditionally because they had lots of conditions. So we came into these conditions, and if we'd been conscious, then we would have handled the situation differently. We would have being unconditionally loving ourselves, but we don't, because we come through the veil of forgetting when we're born, we don't remember. And then we spend the rest of our lives trying to figure out how to get what we want, how to embody who we are and who we want to be. I think that this happens to us through interacting with other people, particularly when we're interacting with other people in a setting that inspires equality and encourages us to be extremely authentic and speak our truth even when it feels uncomfortable. When we're in an environment that doesn't judge us for being ourselves and encourages us to open up, then nothing is hidden. So yeah, it's just an endless path where we're given opportunities to speak our truth. And the more we align with the spiritual journey, the more the Spirit will bring in people that we can work with, that we can be honest with, that won't judge us. Very much like with Carl Rogers when he was a therapist. And he would literally just listen. He just would show unconditional positive regard and let people speak whatever it was they wanted to speak, get out whatever it was off their chest, and never try and correct them or heal them. He just understood that he needed to provide that safe space for them to tune to themselves, because we all have this knowing within us. The answers are always within us. So he understood that we need to be redirected back to the right mind, and without that redirection to the right mind, we're always floundering and we're always lost. We can read as many books and things as we want, but we do need to be anchored in the spirit or the intuition, higher self, whatever you want to call it. And we're given opportunities over and over again. So yeah, if we have a group of people that we can work with, then we can really flourish and mature, particularly if the focus is on maturing emotionally and spiritually, and we feel safe to speak up and we're not judged, and people don't take our stories seriously either, our patterns and our problems. They hold us in true empathy, which is to see us as we are beyond our stories, and just hold loving space for us without seeing us as weak. And this really strengthens us and just gets us to be self-responsible. And actually, the more I go on my spiritual journey, the more I realise just how simple the process is. It seems very complicated early in the journey, but it's quite straightforward. We need to listen to our higher guidance. We need to be gentle and loving with ourselves. We need to have people around us that we can talk to that don't judge, and hold us in true empathy. And we need to understand that we are being supported, that the universe, there's nothing essentially wrong with the universe because it's neutral, and that we can see it as either an obstacle course from hell or the ladder back to heaven. And the more that we get in this positive flow of like glowing up and getting in our right state of mind, then we can keep that momentum and keep going in the direction of believing that we're evolving and that we're supported. And actually, once you get flow in that of momentum in that direction, it does get easier. But earlier in the journey, when you feel as if you're fighting your way up from the depths of hell, it's very easy to succumb to the ego. So the more we can stay right-minded and be gentle when the ego flushes up the darker emotions, the better. So yeah, it is a simple process, but sometimes it takes for us to get quite far along to actually realise that and see it. Feeling our emotions is vital. So we've got the Moon, the Three of Wands and the Eight of Wands. So the Moon is about looking at our desires and our distortions and illusions, and the best place for us to do that is in a team, you know, when we're working with other people, because it flushes things up. We can also do it through watching movies, listening to music, just reading books, all sorts of things. Anything that we interact with in the physical will trigger up our beliefs and issues that we can look at them. And the Three of Wands is a card all about expansion, and that we want to grow, and we know that good things are coming. So, and the Eight of Wands is a card about making rapid spiritual progress, which we do when we get surrounded by the right people and we find our tribe, and we open up and be vulnerable and lean in, face our darkness. Then yeah, we do expand, and things really do seem to go in the right direction. But for many of us, it's finding our tribe of people, and then trusting that the Spirit will lead us deeper into whatever it is we need. We'll feel inspired, or we'll be asked to do something. The Warrior of Cups. I'm not sure what that is actually. But yeah, essentially it's working on our emotional state. It'll be probably the Page or the Knight of Cups. It looks maybe more like the Page, in that we're very focused on doing whatever it is that we need to work on healing. And sometimes when we need to release painful emotions, we can do different types of healing. And in this card, the lady is doing some sort of yoga pose, which really gets us to focus on our mind and to focus on our breath, and to hold positions in the body that can be quite uncomfortable. So we do need to really have that mastery over the mind and that discipline. And there's many different things that we can do to help us release pain, to release our emotions, going out for walks, really having a good cry, or releasing pain by talking to people. Yeah, I think we all find our own way, so many different techniques, and we'll be guided to one that's suitable for us. Six of Pentacles is a card about balance, giving and receiving. That aeroplane's noisy. And yeah, this is essentially what the whole of life is about, is learning how to give and receive in a balanced way, by not needing reciprocity, but making sure that we don't give from an unhealthy place, and that we're open to receiving. Many of us aren't open to receiving. We feel very uncomfortable receiving because we don't feel worthy. But the Six of Pentacles card shows us that we've got a good balance here with this, and that we're really working on just doing the inner work that we need to do with other people and with ourselves. And we're very focused on our spiritual purpose, and we just need to stay on our purpose and face whatever it is. I find that it's actually, even though it's painful, it's a simple process just to go towards what feels uncomfortable. You know, in A Course in Miracles, it says where you don't want to go, that's where you'll find him. And it's true, we do have to go through the triggers in order to get the healing. So we can't be afraid of our feelings. If we're afraid of our feelings, we're just stuck. And I think that's what slowed me down on my spiritual journey a long time. So we've got the Tower, Judgment, Ten of Swords, and the Ace of Pentacles. So the Tower can be just an emotional tower, in that when we're in a situation where we don't have that balance, giving and receiving, it can trigger us feeling unworthy, or invalidated, or not seen, or many of our core wounds. So the Spirit will bring in a tower if we're not making progress, to help us see what it is that we need to process. And whenever a tower happens, it's very tempting to think, oh, that is a nightmare, but it's always just to clear the way, and it's what we need. And because it's painful and uncomfortable and frightening, we don't go towards it, whereas the Spirit knows that we need that nudge. So these towers are actually just kind of tough love and being cruel to be kind by the Spirit, because the Spirit knows that when we get on the other side of it, we'll feel better, and that we don't really know what we're doing, and we can't judge our advances by retreats, and that we can't go towards pleasure without finding pain. And when I say pleasure, I mean go towards like egoic goals, which we're taught from the minute that we're born that these egoic goals are how we find salvation. So we are very confused in the mind, and the judgment card shows us that it's like we rise up. It's that inner calling, that rebirth, as we go through the process over and over and over again of following our purpose, and purging and doing the difficult work, releasing the difficult patterns and belief, and really looking at ourselves, really looking at what other people show us, particularly if we feel like someone else has stabbed us in the back, we've been betrayed. We can only really experience this when we are going through some sort of self-betrayal. And yes, we always want to blame the external, and sometimes we have to grapple with our emotions for a while before we can take our power back. But the Ten of Swords is the end of the suit, which means it doesn't get any worse, and that we can take all the swords out of our back and start again, because it's just metaphorical. And the Ace of Pentacles is about a new start, and Spirit is always bringing us a new start, a new hobby, a new challenge, a new something to help us. And I think because we are very drawn to the physical realm and to achieving physical things, then we are tempted by what we can get. So we kind of go towards different things, creating things, particularly things that manifest abundance for us. But as long as we stay open to the Spirit, then the things that we go towards, these opportunities, can be used in a helpful way. So yeah, the cycle just continues, and it's really just a reminder that we need to rinse and repeat and trust the journey. And I know it says in the course that there's six stages to the development of trust, and that 4 of them are painful and difficult. So we know that the journey is going to be painful and difficult, and if we can look at that pain and difficulty and see it as, actually, this is healing me, I'm just going through this darkness and it's helping me, and that I'm going to be always taken care of and always given new opportunities, and I'm going to be gaining strength, and becoming more empowered over and over time. And every time life doesn't give us what we want, we get a little bit more able to resource it from inside ourselves. So yeah, that brings us into our 9 of Pentacles state. So we're always being refined, and it's beautiful. So yeah, we've just put some different cats together, and we're getting a bit of stress. I saw a cute video the other day on Facebook of a tiny kitten that was terrified, and it was like lashing out, and this bigger cat was just very gentle with it and tolerant, and wasn't fazed by its fear and its lashing out, knew that it wasn't personal. And then eventually it understood that it was safe, and it went and curled up next to the other cat, and it was just a very sweet symbol of the process of how we heal, and that we can't see other people's defensive or seemingly attacking behaviour as personal. It's literally just because they're frightened and they lash out, and it doesn't really have anything to do with us. It's just triggers from the past. But yeah, we're always given opportunities to love. Okay, that's my reading for today. I love you all. Bye.